Good evening, everyone. It's your Wednesday night Dynasty Heat Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Frazier. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I had COVID, so if I'm coughing today, I apologize. I'll try to mute my mic so you guys don't have to listen to it. And as you can see, my typical co-host, Anthony Leone, is not here today, but my friend Austin is replacing him. Austin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to see that you're healthy this week. So,
Yeah.
looking forward to a great show. NFL Week 1. We're ready to get this thing started.
Yeah, Austin's got the nice setup. His voice sounds like a radio host, so it'll be a lot better than listening to Leone in your ear today. So you guys get a special treat. And today we get to kind of go over a fun topic because obviously it's everyone's talking about it. It's game week, right? Thursday night we have a great game for everyone leading into Sunday's games. So today we're kind of going over guys that we love and hate based on their weekly matchups. Some of these guys are gonna be like guys that you're gonna plug into your lineup probably no matter what, but still maybe you don't feel comfortable about it, or today it's even greater than you thought. And then we'll be talking about some guys that are kind of like in the middle of the road that you might be thinking about starting, you might not be, and maybe today we'll give you more of some clarification on why some of those guys are guys that you should be plugging in your lineups because of their weekly lineups. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it, and we're going to start with quarterbacks. So typically in especially dynasty superflex leagues, this is a guy you're going to be starting no matter what. But if you're in a one quarterback league, you're probably still starting this guy, but you might have some other options, right? Because and I put down Tom Brady. This game this week might be the highest scoring. It seems like it has the biggest potential to be just like a shootout, right? It's Dallas against Tampa Bay, both pass heavy teams. And Dallas's weakness, even though Trevon Diggs had a ton of interceptions last year, he lets up a lot of yards, and that secondary lets up a lot of touchdowns. So Tom Brady should have a heyday. It's looking like Chris Godwin is going to be active and playing week 1. I say that right now, but you never know with some of these veteran players. It could be like last minute. They're still not feeling 100%. They might just bench him because. But I really love Tom Brady this week against Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Austin, do you have any thoughts on Tom Brady this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think early in the season, I'm pretty high on Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time in my opinion. So early on in the season, it was a little concerning, like him having his little hiatus from training camp and all that, and still kind of unsure where he was. Mm-hmm. I'm not totally convinced he wasn't on The Masked Singer. All the speculation, but I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this season treks along and see how Tom Brady comes out of this. Like every year we wonder if this is the year that Father Time catches up to Tom, and so far he's just made it through and been just continue to be the greatest every single year. So I don't expect anything different early on.
Yeah, we see like these great quarterbacks just kind of fall off a cliff at the end of their career, right? Like I feel like Big Ben kind of did it, where like he was looking pretty good, and then this like these last 2 years he's just like bad. Like he was not even an average quarterback. Peyton Manning, like the year he won the Super Bowl, he was not good at all, right? Like it was his defense that did it all. So like I don't think we'll see that with Tom. I think we'll see degress, and then he'll just he'll notice it. I feel like he'll be self-aware and he'll just like hang it up at that point. But until I see that regression, he's probably going to be in he's probably going to start because I think he's pretty much defense proof. Like there's nobody that can really scheme to play against him. And with the one I hate, and it pains me to say this because I'm a huge Patriots fan, but Mac Jones. In any format, especially even Superflex Dynasty, I'm forced to start him in like my most expensive league, and I feel horrible about it. It's not only a terrible matchup against the Dolphins defense, whose secondary is very good, and the Patriots wide receiver corps is not good. Like the only promising thing in that offense is the tight ends, and I guess the running backs. They're really not fun to watch fantasy wise at all. But I hate it. I hate him this week, and I'm probably going to hate putting him in my lineup until I see that offense really turn things around. I've been paying a lot of attention to training camp this offseason and the preseason games, and it's just like every report is that the offense is just not getting anything going, and I think we're going to see that translate into this upcoming season. I don't have high hopes that the Patriots offense will be any sort of even average this year. I see below average numbers. I see Mac Jones probably putting up similar fantasy points to last year, which is like lower end of the middle of the pack kind of area. So I really hate his matchup this week against the Dolphins in Miami, and New England always plays bad in Miami is another good thing to note. You got that Miami University hat on there.
I
Are you a
do.
Dolphins fan?
No, I'm a Chiefs fan actually.
Oh, must be nice.
Yeah. I've always been a Chiefs fan though, but I've always liked Miami because I lived in Florida for a short time and I got to go to the Orange Bowl, and just as a kid I always enjoyed the players that they had. So I was always like a players first kind of guy, and it just evolved into
Yeah.
loving the Hurricanes. But yeah, I mean I think Mac Jones. It's an interesting matchup. Definitely, they do have a great secondary over there in Miami. One of their strongest, you know pieces of their defense is their secondary. And looking at this game and looking at all the other games, I'm kind of with you. I don't know that Mac he may finish inside the top 12 this week, but I would be a little bit surprised. Like I'm looking at all the other matchups and I'm like, yeah, I think I could probably find 12 quarterbacks that I like more than Mac Jones this
Right.
week. So yeah, I'm with you, and I'm not sure game script wise like how this is going to go. It's interesting because Tua's got some new weapons, and maybe they'll be able to run the score up, and maybe the Patriots are going to have to try to play catch up, but maybe not too. I mean, it's just going to be interesting to watch how this game plays out in particular. It's kind of hard to call. Like, would I be surprised if this was a lower scoring game? Probably not.
Right. I New England plays really, really bad when the run game it has to be abandoned. We saw it last year in games where it got ugly quick, and they weren't able to keep that run game involved. Like the weapons just aren't there. Like I don't think it's necessarily Mac. Like I think he's got growing to do, but the weapons just aren't there to be able to air it out 40 plus times a game. So
Right.
if it gets to that situation, I think that's worse. I'd almost rather him throw it 25 times because I think the odds of him throwing a touchdown with only throwing it 25 times, believe it or not, is more than if he had to throw it 40 times. I think that game script would just be very, very bad for them. So,
Right.
um, who's a quarterback that you love for this week?
Yeah, so the one that I love this week is Jalen Hurts. So he gets a plus matchup this week against the Lions, who, if you've ever watched us, talk on our IDP shows, or if you know anything about IDP or just defenses in general, or the Lions in general, then you will know the Lions defense is not very great at all. So I definitely like this matchup. I love the addition of AJ Brown there in Philly for Jalen Hurts. I still am really high on Devontae Smith. I think he's one of the most skilled route runners and just wide receivers in his class, besides the obvious Jamar Chase. But I think he's very skilled. So I think he's got some good weapons. They'll be rotating running backs, it sounds like, so keeping their legs fresh. But overall, I think this game is going to play well into Jalen Hurts' hand. His ability to be able to run the football and it not be a bad thing. I don't think that they're going to have to try to play from behind in this game. I think they should control the game the whole time. And for me, I think that plays well into Jalen Hurts' hands. So that's why he's a player this week that I really love. I love the rushing upside. I think he has improved as a passer. I will be the first to tell you. Being a guy that lives in Oklahoma and having to hear the what is it, unbearable OU fans, talk about how great their players are and how great of NFL players are going to be. I'm like, look, Jalen Hurts is just not that great of a quarterback, but I got to give him credit. Like, he's a leader. He's worked really, really hard since he's come into the league, and you've seen the progress. A guy that coming into the NFL, one of my biggest concerns was, he had a hard time keeping his eyes downfield. Anytime the play broke down, he wasn't looking downfield to make a play. He was just looking to run the ball. And I've seen him make a change there, and he's done really well. And he kept up rushing upside, obviously. So effective runner, seems to be a more effective passer. Excited for what he's going to do this year, but in particular, this matchup seems quite juicy.
Yeah, I think that Jalen Hurts also is like one guy that is like forcing me to eat my words. Last year, he was a guy I was avoiding. I wasn't trading for him. And now seeing his improvement last year, especially as a passer,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting a weapon like AJ Brown, and if AJ Brown can stay healthy, that's a big thing. Like so far through his career, AJ Brown hasn't played a full season, counting his rookie season. And obviously that's a concern because, 1 year it's probably just like, players get injured, now it's becoming a habit. Like it's becoming something that happens every single year. But even if he did, like Jalen Hurts is just putting up numbers because of his ability to run the ball. His weapons have gotten better. He's got a great core with Goddard, Smith, and Brown. Um, he this year, like if that, I think the Eagles would be a team that I think surprises people when I think that they realistically have a very good chance to win the division. Obviously, it's just them and the Cowboys. Um, but I really, really do like Jalen Hurts. It's going to be hard for me to hate him any week this year. He's probably going to be a guy I love just because of that rushing upside and the improved ability to throw the ball like you did mention.
Yep, I agree.
So,
Okay, so the quarterback that I hate this week, he's pretty low, so I don't imagine that a lot of people can't find a quarterback to play if this is your option. But I went with Marcus Mariota. I don't really love the matchup, and the one thing about the Saints defense is they get after it. They've got some guys up front that can get after it. Their linebackers, they're a little older. They've got some young guys though that we'll see how they do this year. The secondary is always pretty intimidating. Now they did just trade Gardner. Was it CJG or whatever his name is? The guy that I can't even hardly watch him. He's
Gardner
so annoying.
Johnson for who?
Yeah,
Who was
Chauncey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they traded him to. Oh, did they trade him to the Eagles? Maybe. Anyhow, he's not there anymore.
I think it was. It was the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah. So, but they do have Tyrann Mathieu there, so they've got him back, and Marshawn Lattimore. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan. The problem with the Falcons is he's got Kyle Pitts and Drake London, but he really doesn't have much outside of that. And even for the run game, like who's going to be the running back? I'm not totally convinced that it's not going to be Algier, which I like Algier, but the line, they just have issues. The defense, yeah, it's just the whole thing is a mess in Atlanta to me, and I don't love Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, and I've talked about this in previous shows. I also don't really love Marcus Mariota. Obviously, he has the rushing upside that we like and when it comes to fantasy players. But as you said, the Saints defense is stout. Like they've been very good the past 3 years. They haven't really lost anybody. Yeah, they've got some veteran guys that are older, but you need that presence on the defense. I don't understand why. It seems like Desmond Ridder is NFL ready. Like he was probably my favorite coming into the draft. That I feel like if there was a guy that had to go start week 1 and could handle it, it would be Desmond Ridder. Why as the Falcons organization just not like, all right, let's start this rebuild right now. Let's get this quarterback, this chemistry going with this young tight end, our second year stud tight end, our top 8 pick. I'm not sure what number Drake on it. Was it 5th? Was he the 5th overall pick? He was a top 8 pick though.
Yeah, I want to say around. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it might have been the 5th.
Why not build this chemistry right now and get this rebuild going? Rookie running back Tyler Algier, put Cordell Patterson as like that Debo kind of guy in the offense. I don't really understand why they don't just go with that because it's not like they're paying Marcus Mariota QB1 dollars. So and if he goes in and he doesn't look ready, that's fine. But I guess if there is one team in 1 week not to start a rookie quarterback, I guess it would be against the Saints. So maybe Marcus Mariota goes out there, gets absolutely annihilated, looks terrible. Desmond Ridder could come in week 2, maybe probably against a softer defense, ideally. So I guess I just kind of counter argument my own point there, but I agree that I don't like Marcus Mariota. The matchup's terrible. The offensive line is not good. I see him getting sacked quite a few times this week and not throwing for many yards. And he's going to have to put up over like 120 rushing yards and a touchdown to really salvage a good fantasy start when it comes to the quarterback position. So I agree completely.
Yep.
That's okay. So now let's jump into some running backs. Who is a running back let's start with the running back you hate this week.
I'm going to start with Cam Akers. It's a Thursday night game, and he's going against one of the better defenses, if not the best defense in the league. Their front seven is extremely good. The back end of that defense is extremely good. It's hard to find holes in that defense. It's hard to find, points you can attack and try to take advantage of. The Rams have a great offense. They're going to do what they're going to do. I expect Stafford and Kupp to have their connection rekindled and, just be back at it. Kupp kind of reminds me of, I think I remember correctly, he played quarterback at some point. I don't know if it was in college or where, but
I think it was high school.
so he reminds me of like a second quarterback on the field. I mean, I think that's what makes Kupp so great. He's physically, he's not, the most gifted or whatever. He's no AJ Brown or Megatron out there, but he's like a second. It's like having two quarterbacks on the field at the same time. But for Cam Akers, I just don't know. I mean, there's some injury concerns. Now I'm hearing that he's going to be able to go, but he may be in a timeshare with, Henderson, and this matchup's just not great. And like based on where people have drafted him, I don't love the matchup this week. So he's definitely on my hate list.
Yeah, as somebody that has a lot of share, I just posted something on the Facebook page about guys that I have majority of shares in all my league, and Cam Akers is one of them. And I like him for this season, right? Because and my thoughts behind this are, if Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel, when they were the starting running backs, were solid options to have in your starting lineup, Cam Akers is going to be a really good option because he's just a better runner. Like people will crap on that. He came back in the playoffs last year and his yards per carry were terrible and things like that. But if you actually watched him, he was a good runner. There just wasn't anywhere to run the ball. When you get to the playoffs, teams are playing like this is it. You win or you're done. Like defenses were just playing way better. Really, no team's run game was that great in the playoffs. So I didn't expect Cam Akers to be very good in that situation. But you're right. This week one matchup's tough. The Bills defense is the top 3 in the league, and so is the Rams. But I still expect this game to be a shootout. Because it's just these offenses are just so good. Like Josh Allen is a guy that can put up numbers against any defense, and then like you mentioned with Kupp and Stafford, the way they just are able to like connect is you can't really. It's hard to scheme against that because they know what each is thinking. So like you can't stop that. It reminds me similar of like a Brady Edelman kind of deal, but obviously the wide receiver in this situation is much better and the quarterback's not quite as good. But same thing where it's like defenses could stop him, but Edelman would always get his fair share of pretty good numbers throughout the game. So I agree. Cam Akers is not a good guy to play this week, even though I'm playing him in probably every league I have him. I just don't feel comfortable about it.
This was the game that I feel like everybody kind of wanted to see last year. So if you think these two teams are going to take the field this year, not wanting to make a case or a point, I think this is going to be a high intensity game.
Yeah,
just getting how the playoffs went.
Aaron Donald's going to wield 3 helmets in this game instead of 2, and definitely go at it. There's a good chance he gets in a fight. I think there should be like a prop bet for that because it's inevitable.
There's almost one for everything, but there should be one for that.
I couldn't imagine he gets in a fight almost every game anyway, and I think that's just his competitive nature. I don't think he's like actually a bad guy. I think just like when he's on the field, he doesn't make friends. Like defensive linemen do not like offensive linemen. Like there's not much mutual respect between especially on opposing teams at that position group. So, all right, what running back do you love this week?
I am going to go with Alvin Kamara. So we go back to that Falcons-Saints game. The Falcons defense in just disarray. They really don't have any linebackers that are impressive. I mean, Deion Jones, he's more of an edge player than a linebacker. He doesn't play much off the ball. He's more effective rushing the passer. That's usually where they line him up. But, there's some key guys that they lost. They lost Foye over the offseason. Didn't really do much to replace him. They just don't, Ebiketie, he's new there. He's a young rookie, defensive end, could be all right, but the back end of that defense isn't great. AJ Terrell's the only guy on that defense that I just really, really love. But yeah, I don't think that's going to matter for Alvin Kamara. I see Alvin Kamara running through that defense and just ripping them to shreds. And, starting the season off the right way. I think the Saints are going to go out there and take care of business in a big way. So big on Alvin Kamara this week.
Yeah, this is a guy I kind of alluded to at the beginning of the show. It's like you got Alvin Kamara, you're starting him. But last week we were last year I feel like we got disappointed by Alvin Kamara's season. He wasn't used nearly enough in the pass game as he should have been, especially on an offense that on a team whose offense really couldn't get the ball going. And when Michael Thomas isn't playing the whole year, and you have like the one of arguably the best pass catching back in the backfield, and you're not getting him involved, there's a problem. So I expect the Saints offensive coordinator coaches, Jameis Winston, to utilize Alvin Kamara this year when it comes to that. They got to use him to get the ball going. Of course, Michael Thomas should be back week 1. They drafted Chris Olave in the first round. The receiving core looks a lot better. Jarvis Landry joined in. Jameis has plenty of weapons at this point to be the Jameis that he was when Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were like top 5 fantasy receivers. So can he be putting up numbers like that again? It wouldn't necessarily surprise me if he threw that many touchdowns and interceptions again, of course. But the weapons are there. They have to utilize these guys. Michael Thomas is going to get used. Alvin Kamara is going to get used. These are guys that are obviously probably in the twilight of their career, but they're still playing at a very, very high level. So when you have studs on the field, you got to use them. So Kamara should eat this year. I can't imagine he's not. And if you are worried about his suspension, I don't think we're going to see anything until next year. So I think he plays the full year. And hopefully we get the value that we were hoping to get last year out of him. So I see some questions in the chat. We will answer questions at the end of the show. So just stay tuned, you guys. And Brad, thanks for asking. I do feel a lot better. Some running backs. I'll start with the running back that I hate this week. Bryce Hall. We've heard some news as of late that there is going to be a timeshare in that backfield with Michael Carter Jr. Now you have to remember that the head coach of the Jets is I can't even say his name, Salah, I think. Yep. He came from San Francisco. San Francisco was notorious for utilizing multiple backs in that backfield. But the fact of the matter is, Bryce Hall will take over as the bell cow back. It's just a matter of time. He is just so much more of a polished runner, and he is as good, if not better, in the pass game as Michael Carter Jr. But I think that might come with a few games. So not only does that take into effect, but this matchup is terrible. I believe they play the Ravens week 1, and the Ravens. Best part of the Ravens defense is their front 7. Like, their linebackers are very fast. Their D line is stout. They have one of the best D tackles in the league at Michael Pierce. I think that OA, the defensive end, is going to be a superstar once he steps into it. We saw flashes of it last year. I'm not even an IDP guy, and I noticed this stuff. So that's how you know that this defensive line is going to be good.
You're nailing it.
I like these guys. I know Owe went to Penn State, I believe, right?
Yeah, he did.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know they drafted the guy from Michigan, but he's not going to be ready for a while. Ojabo or I'm not sure
for a while.
But that's going to be an issue for Bryce Hall. The Jets are going to try and establish a run game because of that coach. They have to establish the run game. Doesn't matter who their quarterback is. They're not really good enough yet to just be able to put all people wide and just start airing it out 50 times a game. It's not Pat Mahomes back there. It's Zach Wilson. He needs a balanced offense to be productive. If it is even him, if it's Joe Flacco, same thing. He's going to need a balanced offense to be productive. I think Bryce Hall does not have a good week this upcoming game. And redraft leagues where I was unable to draft him as my running back 3 in a lot of situations, and I was able to get maybe some guys like wide receivers later. I have been taking Bryce Hall out of that flex position and plugging in a lot of wide receivers in those situations because I think this matchup we very well could see a sub 10-point week from Bryce Hall. What are your thoughts on Bryce Hall?
Well, I'm a big fan of Brees Hall. I mean, yeah, it is tough to have him on your hate list this week, but you look at that Baltimore Ravens defense, like you already talked about. Michael Pierce, Jason Oweh. I think he goes by Dafe Oweh is his real name. Calais Campbell's still out there. He's a veteran guy, but he's still.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the more effective defensive ends in the league. It always has been. And then the back end of that defense, yeah, you could make a case that they're just as strong as the front. You've got Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, Chuck Clark, Kyle Fuller, Marcus Williams. There's lots of guys on the back end, and that's not even talking about if Kyle Hamilton's able to make it onto the field. So that defense is really good, and it's going to be interesting to see who the quarterback is this week for the Jets. I don't know that it's going to make a difference. I don't know that it's going to make a difference. I think the only thing that may save Brees Hall this week is volume. You talked about the presence of Michael Carter. I do still think Michael Carter's probably more of a situational back. I do think he will see some run this week, maybe more in passing down situations. But I think the only saving grace for Brees Hall would just be if he can get enough volume. And it's going to be interesting. Like, I don't know if this is a high-scoring game. I don't think it is. Like, I don't think that it will be unless, Lamar Jackson just goes nuclear, which is entirely possible. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see, like, how the game script goes. I think if it starts to get out of hand for the Jets and they're forced to pass the ball a little bit more, I mean, they probably feel pretty confident about the young guys that they have, especially if Zach Wilson's on the field. I could see them trying to win a shootout and just kind of abandoning the run game a little bit. And maybe that doesn't work in Brees Hall's favor. But if it's a low-scoring game, I think he could hold at least some value. But yeah, it's definitely a concerning matchup for sure.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift season. Yes, put that trade in the comments. We'll talk about it as soon as we get back through all these love-hate guys.
Yep.
So the running back I love this week, it's kind of similar to your Alvin Kamara, whereas if you own Aaron Jones, you're putting him in your lineup. So Aaron Jones is a guy that I love this week, and honestly, I'm going to probably love him every week because the Packers receiving core is young and inexperienced, where Aaron Jones is a great receiving back. I think we're going to see a lot of two-back sets. I think we'll see Aaron Jones lined up in the slot often throughout the game. But even when he's in, I think he's going to be like one of the top two options when it comes to where Aaron Rodgers is looking to throw the ball. He should be a PPR monster this year. I will say a couple of years back, I was huge on Aaron Jones, and I think he ended the season as running back 3 overall in fantasy. And then the next year, I was telling people I'm a little bullish on Aaron Jones. I don't think I really don't think that he's going to have a great season. He's not going to. His best season's behind him. But with Devontae Adams leaving and the situation that Aaron Rodgers is left with, I think Aaron Jones could come back and really put up big numbers like he did that one season. And I think that if you're in a situation where you're really trying to win a ship, this is a guy I'd be targeting right now because I think his value right now is the lowest it's going to be the rest of the season. So I love Aaron Jones this week, and I love him really going forward. Honestly, matchup for me is not much of an issue. Like, I don't care who the Packers are playing. Aaron Rodgers is going to find a way to get his playmakers the ball. He always found a way to get Devontae Adams the ball, and I really think he's going to find a way to get Aaron Jones the ball this year. So what are your thoughts on Aaron Jones?
I'm huge on Aaron Jones this year, and I would agree. I'm curious to see if Lazard's going to play or not. I assume he's going to make it out on the field, but there's still like a little question mark there with him heading into week 1, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Would be concerning if he's not able to see the field, of course, but, for the good thing is, like you mentioned, 2-back sets, the way they can move Aaron Jones around the formation, and he doesn't have to just be in the backfield. Like, they can line him up in the slot. They're going to find ways to get him the ball because he is one of the best playmakers. He is the best playmaker besides Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, on that team. As much as I love Lazard, Aaron Jones is definitely more talented in my opinion. But yeah, I think Aaron Jones is going to have a monster week this week. I would definitely agree with that. And I agree with you. I'm not really concerned with the matchup. The Vikings defense doesn't really scare me that much. I think he's a matchup nightmare for them, to be honest, just looking at what they have. So they can be creative in how they get him the ball, and I think that's going to work big in his favor, not just this week, but all season long. One second, Bryce. I think you are muted, brother. There you go.
I am. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, you're
Yeah,
good.
I had to cough and I forgot to unmute. Okay, wide receivers. This week, I really am a big fan of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra is going to get absolutely peppered with targets. I believe, I had it written down and I freaking closed my phone. Do you have with you who the Lions play this week? I believe.
Yeah, they're playing the Eagles. Yep.
Eagles. Yes. The Eagles secondary is good. Their whole defense is actually pretty stout, but I think the volume that Amon-Ra is going to get this year is going to be similar to what we saw Jalen Waddle getting last year when Tua was at quarterback. I think he's just going to get absolutely peppered. And we heard Jared Goff talk about when he's looking for a play to be made, he's going to be looking for Amon-Ra. This wide receiver corps is really not that stacked. I think it's Amon-Ra. We obviously got TJ Hawkinson at tight end, and he's going to get his. I think he's going to be more consistent this year than he was last year. And then I think it's Josh Reynolds after that.
They got DJ Chark too.
And DJ Chark Jr. That's right. I really don't think DJ Chark Jr. is going to be very productive this year. I think that we're going to see him get slowly weeded out. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I think that the relationship that Goff has with Reynolds, we're going to kind of see, because they did a stint together, obviously with the Rams. We're going to see them still, finding each other throughout the game, but it's going to be the Amon-Ra show. I see him getting double-digit targets for quite a while until we see Jameson Williams get on the field and be productive, because we know he can. He's got the speed and he's got the skill, the route running and the skills to do that. But when it comes to a team who obviously doesn't have a lot of touchdown upside, like I do think the Lions organization is starting to get things turned around with their new head coach, Dan Campbell. Their defense, I think, is going to be better than it has been. And their offense is getting better, but the touchdown upside is limited on that team. Like Jared Goff is good, but he's not great. But when it comes to the just complete volume that I expect Amon-Ra to get, I could see him getting close to double-digit catches for quite a while, along with close to 100 yards. I see around 15 to 25 points for him pretty consistently. I think he's going to be a guy that is very valuable when it comes to his floor play for the near future. So, any thoughts on Amon-Ra?
Yeah, he's so smooth. I loved him coming out of USC. He is so smooth. He 4.5 speed, so he's not like the fastest guy on the field, but plenty fast enough. And just the way he runs his routes, he's just so smooth. He knows how to get into those spots. He always has. He's got great body control. Physique is there. He's not like the biggest, tallest, whatever guy, but his physique is there. Kind of reminds me of like a, Tyreek Hill. He's small, but he packs a punch. Amon-Ra kind of does the same thing for me. And, I'm not a big fan of his quarterback situation, of course, but like you said, the volume's going to be there. I expect him to see 10 to 12 targets a game pretty easily. And he's going to get those good targets. They use him in a lot of ways. He can stretch the field, but I love the way that they work him underneath so much, and that really plays into Goff's hand. Not having to just drive the ball down the field just to move it. Being able to just take what's there, and they like to work Amon-Ra into those seams and do different things like that. So, I definitely like Amon-Ra St. Brown this week. He's a little bit, if you're looking for somebody a little bit further down the list, especially to play in your flex position this week, or maybe even who knows, wide receiver too. If you're maybe you're running back heavy and you're a little thin at receiver, and he's somehow your wide receiver too. I think he'd be a fine play. So definitely a guy that if you've got him on your bench and you're wondering, if you're up, in the air on who you should put in that flex spot, Amon-Ra's a guy that you should definitely give some consideration to this week.
It's funny you mentioned his physique. Have you been watching Hard Knocks at all with the Lions?
I didn't. No, I've caught like snippets and things, which by the way, Jamal Williams is like my favorite player on earth. Like he's so great.
It's the coolest dude ever. Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad was a Mr. Olympia. So
oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's so
his brother work out with his dad, which obviously is why they look the way they do.
Yeah, I mean, Equanimeous isn't like, I mean, he's just not like, I don't know. I mean, you just look at Amon-Ra, like in college when I was looking at him at USC and I was watching like his tapes and doing different things. I was like, dude, this kid is chiseled, man. Like he gets after it in the gym. So, and he gets after it on the football field too. So
Yeah,
I like
he's a
him.
very serious guy. Like he
Yeah.
is all business. Like he's not very active in you don't see him a lot in the hard knocks, but when you do get the little bit that it was with his dad working out with him and stuff like that, and it was just kind of interesting to hear that story of just like these people are just genetically gifted, and
Yeah.
it makes
Well,
sense of why they're
well,
pro athletes.
well, they said in training camp last year, I mean, like when everything got started for these rookies and mini camp and all that, he was the first guy on the field, first and last guy to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, that's, so cliche to hear it and see it. And, people just say that. And sometimes that's just like coach speak, but no, like people were really saying, like reporters and stuff were, taking pictures and videos and things from the sidelines. And they're like, yeah, this kid, he really is. He's the first guy out and the last one to leave. He puts in the extra work. So I think it's paying off for him in a big way. And I think, his quarterbacks, trust in him because of the work that he's put in. The coaching staff, Dan Campbell, I mean, he's a guy that's just so big on motivation and things like that. Like I'm sure he's just fell in love with the kid too. So yeah, I think they'll find a way to get him the ball. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this Hard Knocks. Dan Campbell is. I am becoming a fan of the Lions just because of him. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and you need to watch it. You're an IDP guy. You'll like Hutchinson. He is just
I
a
follow
different
it
breed.
all. Yeah, he's unique. I'm a big. I hope that Craig is watching this. I think Brad's watching this, so Brad's already gonna know what I'm about to say. I'm a big fan of Malcolm Rodriguez, and he got a
Oh,
lot of love.
yeah.
Yeah, being from
They call him
Oklahoma.
Rodrigo. They call him Rodrigo in the
Yep.
show.
Yeah, I'm being from Oklahoma and watching a lot of Oklahoma State. I mean, man, Rodrigo, he's awesome, dude. He's
I
all American linebacker. He's awesome.
I picked him up. I'm in one IDP league, and I really don't follow defense that much. I shouldn't even be in the league, but I picked him up in that league and just put him on my bench because I was like, well, if he
Yeah.
becomes a starter, maybe he'll be valuable.
And maybe later on in the year he could be, but for now
Yeah.
he's probably best left on the bench or the taxi.
Yeah, he'll stay there for a while. I'll pick it up here. Guy I hate this week, Amari Cooper. Obviously, with Deshaun Watson we've talked about it so many times on this show, Leonie and I have, but he's not playing for a while. So Jacoby Brissett is back there, and that is just not good for anybody and everybody on that team. It's good for the running backs because they should get absolutely like spoon-fed all game. But I just, Amari Cooper is a guy who is a very, very good route runner. And I feel like when you have a quarterback that's like Jacoby Brissett, that skill when it comes to route running is not going to be – your quarterback's not going to be able to take advantage of that skill. Like the timing and the accuracy and things like that, where I feel like when like speed would be a better thing for Jacoby Brissett to have, or like a really, really big bodied receiver. We saw kind of Devontae Parker have a good year that 1 year, but Amari Cooper is not really great when it comes to getting hit. He's pretty fragile. He's another guy that seems like he gets hurt every year and is always got lingering injuries that hinder his play. He's a guy I really don't like watching because when he's hurt or upset, he kind of like gives up on the play. It's really frustrating. I hate when players do that, and I think that we're going to see that happen early in his stint with Cleveland because I think he's going to be unhappy with his usage until we see Deshaun Watson hit the field. But mainly, I just really don't like Jacoby Brissett for Amari Cooper or any wide receiver on that team for the near future.
Yeah, I was just going to say it, and if you didn't say it, I was going to say it. Amari Cooper, as talented as he is, one of the best route runners in the league. Love watching him play when he plays hard. That's the thing. Is Amari Cooper going to play hard all the time? And this team in particular needs this. I mean, Jacoby Brissett needs a receiver that's going to go out there every down and play hard, and I just don't see that happening. I think for them, and then based on Carolina's defense, the best chance of success that they're going to have is try to let their defense control the game, and then rotate those running backs in and just try to run the ball down their throats, because the secondary is no joke over here in Carolina. J.C. Horn, he's going to make his return this year. We'll see how he looks. Jeremy Chin on the back end, and you got C.J. Henderson as well, Xavier Woods. So I mean, Dante Jackson, they've got some guys in the secondary. So this is not going to be an easy task for Jacoby Brissett or for Amari Cooper. So the middle of that defense doesn't look as great. I mean, they've got Brian Burns up front, but yeah. So for me, I'm with you on this. I don't love Amari Cooper this week.
Yeah, I think Josh Dobbs takes over eventually, but we'll see that here in a couple of weeks. I think you're going to have to put a quarterback back there that has some rushing upside for that offense to be good, especially when you have mediocre at their peak mediocre passing ability. So who's a wide receiver you love for this week?
Yeah, I'll tell you who I love this week, and that is Brandon Ayuk. So my guy looked good all offseason. We've seen tons of highlights. I love the connection that he seems to have with Trey Lance, and I especially love this matchup against the Bears, a defense that's kind of reeling. Luckily, they were able to get their linebacker back, so they're going to have Roquan on the field. But the back end of this defense, I don't love. Jaquan Brisker, he's probably going to be an interesting piece there, but I think they should be able to work away from him. And I think Brandon Ayuk should be able to be the beneficiary of having Debo be the guy that everyone's going to focus on. Brandon Ayuk, he's still a talented receiver, a lot of promise, young guy who just appears to have a great connection with Trey Lance. And so I expect him to move the ball on them. I expect them to pass the ball at will. So I think this is going to be a great game for him.
Yeah, Ayuk was a guy I tried to acquire a lot last offseason, and his price was just too high for a lot of people, so I didn't get him. And I wasn't really mad about it once the season started, and he put up a lot of just an entire disappointing season realistically. But I have been kind of paying attention. He has been a lot better in this offseason. Seems like Trey Lance likes him. And that's always good. And I think he is best suited as a team's number 2 option when it comes to a wide receiver, which is the situation he's in right now. So I think he's a guy, like I would kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show, where if you have some matchups that you don't like or some players you're on the fence about, and you got Brandon Ayuk sitting there in your bench, put me in, coach, you really could stomach it, because you could stomach maybe sitting a guy that has been better this past season or two. For a guy that has the upside that Brandon Ayuk can. The 49ers find a way to score the ball, no matter who's throwing it or who's running it or whatever. It seems like they're always good every year. And I expect that Brandon Ayuk has a much better season. Somebody has got to step up as their number 2 wide receiver, and he is in the best opportunity to do it. So I think it's a slam dunk to put Ayuk in your lineup if you have some players that you're a little hesitant about. And who do you hate this week?
Easy. This one's DK Metcalf. So DK, my guy. I'm a big DK fan. I like him as a player. I hate this matchup for him so much. He draws the Broncos, and then he also draws a terrible quarterback this week and every week after, it looks like. So just not a favorable matchup, not a favorable situation for him this season. I don't really know what to do with him. I mean, I have him in one league that I just orphaned this year, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'll keep him and see how it goes. But I don't feel great about it at all. So I'm definitely concerned for DK this week. Probably, I mean, gosh, if you ask me to play him or Ayuk or Amon-Ra, I'm playing probably either of those guys over DK Metcalf. I mean, I don't love it this week. Hopefully he'll draw some easier matchups in the coming weeks. We'll see if maybe he can find his way into the starting lineup. But at least for week 1, I don't know about DK.
I'm trying to look here at when Geno Smith played last year, because if I remember correctly, I thought DK Metcalf got a lot of work last year with Geno Smith. And this first game I'm looking at, Geno Smith's best game, Tyler Lockett got all the work, but DK got the touchdowns. So yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think that really realistically, Tyler Lockett benefits the most from Geno Smith playing. I think DK Metcalf, I've been, it's been an unpopular opinion, but I've always kind of thought he was overrated in Dynasty. I think he's more of just a big playability guy. Like he is that one season that he was having like a really good season. Like he was always getting like a big touchdown every single game. And Russ facilitated that. So it's like, if you put a quarterback back there that's not able to facilitate the ability to make those big plays, like what's DK's numbers going to look like? And I think we're going to see that this year. I don't think he's quarterback proof like some of these other guys in the league, like your D Hops, um, Tyreek Hill. I think we'll see is quarterback proof. Just guys that are productive no matter who's back there is what I'm saying. I don't think DK is going to be that guy. Again, this might just be some biases I've already put inside of me, and I can't just like let it go. But I hate him until they find a way. And I realistically think that the Seahawks are just going to be bad this year and draft one of these top quarterbacks coming into this draft. I realistically think they're going to try and get like a Bryce Love, a CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, who's the guy for Oklahoma? Not Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma.
Oh no,
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah. There's way better quarterbacks than those guys, man. You got
Bryce Love and CJ Stroud. Those are the top two.
Oh man, you got to throw Anthony Richardson in there. You got to throw the kid in from Tennessee.
But is Anthony Richardson draft eligible after this season?
Yeah, I think he will be.
Oh, okay. I thought he had 2 more years. So yeah, I would have mentioned him.
I think the kid from Tennessee will be good, and then my favorite is the kid from Fresno, Jake Haener.
Okay, we'll see. I think Bryce Love will be I think he'll be the number one. I think. I know he's on Alabama. Sure. I know he's on Alabama, and I think CJ Stroud is a guy that can come into the league and take it. And if he sits a year, he'll benefit from that because like he shows flashes of making big boy, NFL caliber throws. We saw it at Notre Dame, that one he threw to Marvin Harrison Jr. It was like a perfect ball, and I'm just like, man, that's an NFL throw right there. If we can see it more consistently, but Geno Smith can't even make those throws, and he's starting in NFL. So
and that's
anything's possible.
The one concern too with DK that I didn't mention was just like the drops. I mean, we saw it happen with Russ. It would hit him right in the hands. He would drop them just easy balls that he should be catching. He's going to have to convert those because this offense can't afford for him to drop the ball. Those are drive killers, especially when, Geno Smith is your quarterback. So, yeah.
I think they run that. I think that team is going to establish the run. And I think if Rashad Penny can be healthy, it might be more successful than most people think. So, but, it's just a thought. I should have put him on my love running back list, I guess. All right, and we'll jump into the last position group. Go ahead and start with the tight end that you love this week.
Tight end that I love this week is going to be Dallas Goedert. Been hearing a lot of buzz about him in camp. He, again, he draws a great matchup with the Lions. I think, he's going to be the beneficiary again of, having A.J. Brown there, Jalen Hurts improving as a passer, Devontae Smith being able to pull coverage as well. I think this opens things up really well for Dallas Goedert, who is a really talented tight end. Big body, moves well, does all the things you need him to do, and seems to be a really great fit for Jalen Hurts. So I love the matchup. I like the play this week. I'm starting him with confidence.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert's a guy that I think he's like right outside that like tier 1 area, with the Kittle, the Mark Andrews is the freaking, like I kind of almost felt like Dallas Goedert with the guy that I hate this week, but like with Dalton Schultz and stuff like that, like he's those guys you're not as comfortable starting him as you would those guys, but you're like, all right, well, this guy's has the potential to put up as good of a week as those guys. Just the floor is probably lower. Yeah, I'm a huge Dallas Goedert fan. The talent is definitely there in the situation. That team should be scoring a lot of touchdowns, so touchdown upside should also be there. And go with the guy that you love. Or hate this week.
Oh, the guy that I hate this week. Yes. So that's going to be Tyler Higbee. Again, Thursday night matchup. He draws the Bills. The linebackers they have, they're pretty good in coverage. Their secondary is good. I just don't love the matchup for him this week. I think that if the ball's going anywhere, it's, Allen Robinson is probably going to take some red zone looks away from him as well. I would expect he is still a red zone threat. Cooper Kupp, obviously. So I don't know. For me, I'm just not a big Tyler Higbee fan this week. I think they're going to have their hands full, and I think he's going to get game scripted out.
I agree. I think, another unpopular opinion. I can almost compare Tyler Higbee to Dalton Knox, where I think that they are overvalued just based on their situation. Like I think people think that they're better than they actually are because they're in these offenses that can score and put up a lot of yards and put up a lot of points, and you'll see them occasionally benefit from that. Um, like I don't think he is like so talented that he has to be involved in any sort of game plan.
Yeah.
Whereas guys like Allen Robinson, Cooper Cup are, I think the running backs will get theirs, and I realistically think Van Jefferson is going to still be pretty involved as well. So Tyler Higbee becomes like the fourth, fifth option when it comes to getting the ball in the red zone, in my opinion. So I agree completely. I am not a Tyler Higbee guy. Never targeted him in fantasy, and I'm kind of glad that I haven't. So I'll go into the guy I hate first because I already kind of mentioned it. Dalton Schultz this week. Though I do think this game has the ability to kind of be a blowout. The only reason I don't like Dalton Schultz this week is the matchup when it comes to the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their defense, the strength on their defense is the linebackers, and then I like their safeties. And when you have fast linebackers like Levante or like Devin White and Levante David, um, right? Levante David, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you have guys like that and an Antoine Winfield Jr., oftentimes, run, even whether they're in zone or man coverage, linebackers are guarding the tight end because
Right.
Dalton Schultz is going to be lined up close to the lineman, and he's going to be running through the middle of the field where those guys are at. And I just think those guys are more athletic. Dalton Schultz is athletic, don't get me wrong, but these guys are just like really athletic for their position group, and I think that we're going to see more production from the Dallas wide receivers. And I think that the run game will be a lot better than it was last year against Tampa Bay. It really can't get worse. But I think that Dalton Schultz will not be as heavily involved in this shootout that I predict. I think it's going to be a lot more of the wide receivers that benefit from the way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is kind of put together. What's your thoughts on Dalton Schultz this week against Tampa Bay?
Well, yeah, I saw you're getting
Dawson
roasted
Knox.
right now.
Oh my gosh! Thanks, Jaws. Dalton Knox. Sorry, I was talking about Dalton Schultz. And
I
then
love.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love Jaws, by the way. Jaws, it's so
Yeah,
nice
he's
to see
funny.
you over here. He's always on our IDP show. Thank you for joining us tonight.
He's always.
I will ask you. Okay, who is the wide receiver two in Dallas?
Well, obviously, right now, I guess Jalen Tolbert.
No, it's Dalton Schultz, man. It's
Oh,
Dalton
the wide
Schultz. If you watched these guys play together, him and Dak Prescott, I mean, Dak Prescott just loves Dalton Schultz. I mean, that's really where Dalton's made the most money with Dak is just the opportunity, the volume that he's received. It's consistent. It's week in, week out. He was very reliable last year. I don't think necessarily it's that he's just an elite talent as much as the opportunities he's getting are plenty. And I expect more of the same this week. I expect for them to try to sit him down in the defense, try to beat the zones, try to find the soft spots, and try to give Dak, the ability to get the ball out of his hands quick. That's kind of one of the deals, right? It's like if they just signed Jason Peters. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready to go this week or not, but that offensive line in Dallas is concerning right now. And, they're going to have to find a way to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And if the run game's not going, especially because, they're not able to block it. I mean, those things are going to be really concerning, So I definitely have my concerns for the receivers this week in Dallas. But if I had to pick one that I was like, okay, commit to it, I would probably pick Dalton Schultz. So we've been on the same page for most of the show. But yeah, I mean, and you might be right on this one. You might be right. It might just honestly be that just Dallas is just not a great play this week because of how bad their defensive or offensive line is and just how good this defense is that they're going against. I will say it's probably going to be one of those things where they're going to have to pass the ball and they're going to have to pass the ball quickly. A, their offensive line's depleted, and B, they're going to have to try to catch up with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to put the points up. They're going to move the ball. They're going to do what they do. So it's going to be an interesting situation, and I think they're going to have to count on Schultz to come up big in this game.
Yeah, I think this game only goes one of two ways. It's a shootout or it gets ugly quick. in favor of the Buccaneers. Like
I would not be surprised.
I don't think there's any other way. And now that I haven't really thought about that offensive line being beat up, and then there's not really a wide receiver two until Michael Gallup comes. I'm leaning that it might get ugly for Dallas quick because I really
Hmm.
don't think I think their defensive backs are overrated. Um, I think Brady will pick them apart. So Schultz might be a productive player this week based on volume. But if you have Dalton Schultz, like you're gonna start him, right? Unless for some
Hmm.
reason you just have another stud on your team. So it's like I'm not like trying to say don't start him this week. I just don't like the matchup. I think that he could get the targets. I just don't know how good of targets they're going to be this week. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
And the guy I love this week, I guess I had to do a Patriot I hate. So the one I love this week is Hunter Henry. Now I know I said I hated Mac Jones, but the Patriots are going to have to throw the ball. I think it's inevitable this game. Whether it's I'm hoping they can keep it within a 1 or 2 score game for most of it. But when they throw the ball, the most talented guys on the field are number one Hunter Henry and number two, unfortunately, it's probably Jonnu Smith, even though he was terrible last year. But I've heard great things about Jonnu this offseason. I'm thinking that he's going to be on the field more and more this upcoming season. But that wide receiver group is just not that great. Like Jacoby Myers is good as a slot receiver, but he should not be a team's number 1 or 2 option. I guess you could say Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne are the 1 and 2. That still sounds absolutely horrible. So who's he going to look to? I think it's going to be the big body dude over the middle, which is going to be Hunter Henry. And if they get in the red zone, Hunter Henry was a touchdown machine last year in that offense. So I think if the Patriots score 2 touchdowns this week and only 2 touchdowns, it wouldn't surprise you to hear that Hunter Henry scored both of them. So give me the guy that gets all the targets in the red zone. I'm not expecting like 9 catches for 120 yards or anything like that, but if he gets 4 catches for 45 yards, I'm pretty happy with just even that performance at the tight end position. And then if you throw a touchdown on there, it's just a little bit, a little bonus. So I like
Yeah.
Hunter Henry for the floor play. I think the ceiling is definitely capped. It's going to be capped all season in that offense. If ceiling play, it's probably Jonnu. We don't know it yet, but I think it will become that way. But Hunter Henry is a guy that I like for a floor play at tight end, which is a lot of time if I don't have one of these top guys is what I look for. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts
I'm
on
with
Hunter Henry?
No, I'm with it. I think everything you said, you pretty much nailed. So I think 4 for 50 and a touchdown would be a good week for Henry, and I
Right,
could definitely see that happening.
right. I agree. So those that ask questions in the chat, stay tuned. Bear with us. We're gonna end this for those listening into podcast. We'll cut it and then edit it later. So, any of you guys that are listening to this later on, thank you guys so much for joining in. Leone should be back next week. And thank you so much for joining today, Austin. It would have been really
Yeah.
boring to do this by myself. So thanks again for joining. We will see you guys next week, probably going over week 1 recap. Things to note about that. So thank you guys. All right, so here we go. We got a couple of questions. So DeAndre Swift asked one earlier. DeAndre Swift season asked one earlier, and this one was
Oh, okay. I thought
a
we had
no
DeAndre
brainer.
Swift in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be
He
cool.
was offered Najee, Bateman, and Pitts for Fournette, Debo, and Kmet in a redraft. So
Oh,
obviously makes it a little closer.
smash.
Yeah, it makes it a little closer being a redraft, but it's definitely a smash for the Najee, Bateman, Pitts side. I mean, geesh. I like Fournette in redraft situations, but he's still not close to Najee. Obviously, Debo is better than Bateman, but geez, the difference between Pitts and Kmet and Najee and Fournette still are just way bigger than that gap between Debo and Bateman. So
Yeah,
that's
smash
that's
that all
huge.
day.
He's got Judy as his wide receiver too, and then Zeke. So he'll have Zeke, Akers, and Najee. I like that lineup for redraft for sure. Absolutely. He said I don't really look for stacks when it comes to like any fantasy situation. When I stack, it would be in DFS. Like I don't look for stacks when it comes to any sort of it doesn't really change my opinion. Like I rank players and then I try and get the guys that I have ranked higher. That's just how kind of it works for me.
Yeah, me too.
Leone asked Leone or Austin rest of the season. You have to let the chat
Leonie,
explain.
you do great, man. I am just a stand-in. You know, I enjoy the IDP world, so I'll stay there.
King No Limit asked me if there's any kick returner or punt returners that I could pick up. I am not educated on this situation whatsoever. I would probably tell you get that guy from Dallas that
I'm gonna
returns
go.
you.
Yeah, Turpin. Yes, Turpin is good from Dallas. Maybe Duvernay from. He
Devin
was the other
Duvernay.
guy that came to mind from the Ravens. I think he gets um, some special teams play there, and he's pretty
Yeah,
good. So
I guess you'd want to go with like defenses that are good, so you get punts that are returnable. I guess I don't know how I'd even look at that. I wouldn't even want to play in a league where I have to pay attention to that.
yeah.
Honestly, um, we had a couple more in here. Oh, Leonie said this. He's crafty. He gets around. He's crafty when you need a first down. Do you know what that's from? I have no clue. Oh, it was a Beastie
Yeah.
Boy
So he was
reference.
saying. Well, he was saying that that's how they were describing Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
I don't know
but I
who
think
they
this is a
is.
Beastie Boy reference.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, I like the Beastie Boys, but I don't like them. I don't pay attention to them that much. Oh, that's
Yeah.
how they were describing Monroe. Yeah, you're right. Oh, this is a good one. Who you guys liking more week one, Etienne or Elijah Mitchell? I think we're gonna Rick and I do this Sunday morning, and I think we're gonna get a lot of Etienne and a lot of Elijah Mitchell on Sunday morning. I've kind of
Who are you going with? I'm gonna go Mitchell. I'm just gonna say it outright because Mitchell was the guy that coming out of college, and I'll pull the receipts if I got to. I don't care, but he's my guy. And I said if I think he could be the running back in San Francisco, he tested off the charts coming into the NFL. I think there was only like one other running back that tested better than him in the last 10 years, and I think that was Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he was he was really good. And the piece of the one thing that I saw that he did in college was like watching film on him was they were playing Alabama, and you got to keep in mind I think he played for like Louisiana, I don't know, Tech or something like that. He was running the ball around the left side, and he takes it around the corner, and he meets a linebacker, and he stiff arms him right into the ground. Like, oh, it was just nasty. And I was like, this kid's got it. I was like, this kid's got it. You shouldn't be doing that, against Alabama. And
yeah.
so it was
I feel like
interesting.
when you see players do well against Alabama, it puts them on the radar. Like Trey Burks had a great game against Alabama in college, and I feel like everyone like, oh, Trey Burks, like just started climbing ladders because if you could play good against Alabama, there's a lot of pro players on their defense, and
Yeah, I mean,
offense. So
yeah, it's a good barometer. But I like Elijah Mitchell this week. I don't know that. I'll be honest with you. I'm a Robinson owner, and a lot. I have him on a lot of my rosters. And I will say that I'm not convinced that he's not going to be RB1 week one. I'm not convinced. I mean, I don't know, man. I like the situation a little better for Elijah Mitchell.
yeah, I really was disappointed that ETN got drafted to the Jaguars because I thought James Robinson's plenty good to you should draft like other positions when you're rebuilding a team like that. But ETN did play with Trevor Lawrence, and I think that I'm going to chalk this up to floor and ceiling. If I want a floor play, I'm easily putting in Elijah Mitchell. Like if I want like like a 10 to 15 point minimum, I'm thinking Elijah Mitchell's going to put that up there. He could obviously put more than that, but I think even if he has a bad game, he's going to do that. Where ETN, if one of these guys is going to explode for 30 plus, I would put my money that's ETN because of just his PPR upside. I don't think Elijah Mitchell is going to be very involved in the pass game. Um, I think that Trey Lance is going to be like looking at 1, 2, and 3 when it's going to become Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk, and then he's going to run it more than check it down. So I that's what I am concerned about when it comes to Elijah Mitchell when it comes to PPR value. I like Elijah Mitchell a lot, but I think floor is him, and then ceiling I'm going to put ETN. So I guess
Yeah.
you could chalk it up to that. What situation are you in? Are you behind? Is your matchup looking bad for you this week, and you need a guy to just rip a huge week out? Put in ETN. If you're like, all right, I feel pretty, I can compete with this guy. Put in Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, just be careful. I would agree. I would totally agree. I think you nailed it there. And the only thing I would say is for context, I would just say you could probably win a week with ETN, or you could probably lose a week with ETN.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't really feel the same about Elijah Mitchell. Like I feel like Elijah Mitchell probably is not your running back one. Hopefully,
Yeah.
he's probably your running back two. And if that's the case,
It might be a flex option if he's debating between both
Oh,
of
if he's
them.
a flex, like take your points, man. Go
Yeah,
home. Just like you said, that floor play. I want to make sure I'm getting points because that's how I win my week. Get out of the
right.
week with no casualties.
Yeah, unless you're playing like some sort of stacked roster, I guess, which it seems like a couple of leagues I'm in have them.
Yeah.
Leone asked a good one. Dynasty, Bateman or Ayuk? Who would you go with?
I'm probably gonna go with Bateman because I like the skill that Bateman possesses a little bit more than Ayuk. Like I think this year I could see him outscoring Bateman, but I don't know. Like I just really like Bateman's skill, like as a receiver, his route running ability and all of those things. I like it quite a bit. But I'd probably go with Bateman, and then also just for the youth, he's a little younger
Yeah,
than
I
Ayuk.
probably agree with Bateman. Thinking of starting Nicole or Elijah Moore over DK. Ooh, so DK was on your hate list. Would you start McCole Hardman or Elijah Moore over him?
Elijah Moore,
That,
yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely not starting McCole.
yeah, I know. No, no,
That's out of
no.
the question for me. I think McCole Hardman at this point is what I would consider a bust. Like I think Marquez Valdez Scantling comes into that roster and takes over what McCole was kind of supposed to do. I
Is he
would
even healthy?
probably I don't know.
I
I've
don't know that
honestly
he's
like
healthy.
ignored him. Um,
Maybe he
I've
is. I
honestly
should know.
ignored him. I've done a good job at like ignoring the guys that the Chiefs draft that people get too hyped about. Like I told people that year that Clyde Edwards-Helaire got drafted, like Jonathan Taylor is gonna be the better guy. Like don't draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like
Everyone's better than Clyde.
don't take him over. I know that he went to the to the Chiefs and his touchdown up. He's not Kareem Hunt. He's not gonna do what he was doing there. So take Jonathan Taylor. You'll be happier, but whatever.
We're done talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire
Yeah.
because I'm a
Oh, you
Chiefs fan and I can't stand him.
really? He
Oh,
was
I can't
productive
stand
last
him,
year when he
man.
was on the field. I feel like, but I think he's I think he'll be all right
He's
this year. We'll
so
see.
trash in the red zone. Get him out of here.
So you'd start Elijah Moore over DK this week?
Yeah, yeah. That's the play for me. I think. I don't know though. I mean, DK, like you
I'd
said,
probably
when
still start DK, but it's
yeah,
close. That's terrible that we're talking about that though, isn't
I
it?
know it is. It is because it should be DK.
Leone has already gone for his draft. I think he said it earlier. Oh, yeah, he said it earlier. He's going to his draft. He's not. He's not
Oh, he
streaming it
said
though.
he did say maybe even Sammy Watkins. By the way, Jaws and Sammy Watkins, depending on what happens with Lazard, could actually be a decently. Yeah. Oh, there exactly what Leone said.
Yeah.
So there you go. Hey, what's up, Anthony? Same. Like that meme, like the Spider-Man meme.
I want to find love. Oh my gosh, how do we report these? What are these 69
Oh,
mega.coms? How do we
oh,
report those?
how do we go to that?
Oh, block user. There we go.
Can you
I know
share your
Rick was getting
screen?
them that one day. Yeah. It's in the chat. It was in the chat.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
It's
What
gone
the
now. But bye. That's great. Yeah, so Anthony kind of said the same thing I did. Is yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that Lazard situation, and if Lazard's out and Sammy Watkins is wide receiver one in Green Bay,
Is he though?
he could
Like,
make a case.
is he though? Like, I
I
really
don't know.
think
Maybe
that
not.
I honestly am probably going to try and steer clear of all of Green Bay's wide receivers week one until I get some clarification of who does Aaron Rodgers like. And I
That's
don't
fair.
think we're going to find it out till week one. I think it'll be a quick answer. Like, I think he's going to tell us. I think he's going to tell us on Sunday who he likes to target. So
Could be
we'll
Cobb.
see. It could be Randall Cobb. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Romeo Doubs. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Christian Watson if he's out there. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Sammy Watkins. We will see. That's for sure. And then he said, thanks for answering. He got Christian Kirk instead of Bateman in that trade. So it was, I mean, yeah, it doesn't change anything for me really. Like, Christian Kirk might be a huge volume guy this year too, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like him I just think I don't really like the talent of Christian Kirk that much. Like I think he's obviously overpaid. But who does Trevor Lawrence have to throw the ball to other than Travis
Yeah.
Etienne?
That's what I was gonna say. Do you like the quarterback situation better? Because I know everybody's gonna freak out because it's Lamar Jackson, but like,
Not really.
do you really
Who's going to drop back and throw it more?
Yeah.
Probably
Right.
Lawrence, right?
Right.
I
That's
mean,
where I'm at. So I kind of like it.
If you told me that the the Ravens had 70 offensive plays and 50 of them were run plays, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So like that's just how their offense runs. Um, Half PPR: McLaurin versus Jacksonville or Penny versus Denver. Half PPR.
And this
Man, I
is
really
tough, but I'm
like
gonna go
Penny. I
Penny.
really like Penny this week. Yeah, I really, really like Penny. I think he might see over 20 touches. Where, with it being half PPR, um, I like the odds of him scoring on that 20 touches than McLaurin scoring on like maybe 7 or 8 catches.
Yeah, I like the floor too. Like
Yeah,
I like the floor, especially in half PPR. I like the floor for
yeah,
Penny. Go with
yeah.
Penny.
He'll be involved in the pass game as well. So, um, Alex Kylie asks, "How's my team? Mahomes, CMC, Miles Sanders, Lamb, A. Rob, Hollywood, Cooks, Mooney, Kelsey, Ken Walker, Rashad White, Algier, Traylon Burks."
I looked this over, and I would say you're a little thin at running back because I'm not a big fan of Miles Sanders, but you did really well at receiver. I like Hollywood. I like Cooks, Mooney. I mean, those guys like Cooks and Mooney being your like fourth and fifth wide receivers, home run right there.
Mm-hmm.
Kels tight end one, Mahomes, top five quarterback. Um, you gotta hope. You don't hope, but we'll see what kind of volume Rashad White gets. I mean, early on in the season, I don't know that it's going to be much. Algier is interesting. I am a big Tyler Algier fan, and I think he could take over that backfield. And I actually think he's talented. Like nobody's talking about it, but the kid's talented.
Yeah, I've been targeting him a lot in redrafts just because like he's going so late where and startup drafts like he's going so late where like this dude is a starting running back like he's where people like Rashad White are sometimes getting drafted above him when they're backups. So you're going to have to hit at one of these running backs for your
One of the
team
young
to
guys.
be a competitor. In my opinion, I don't really see Walker or White being very productive this year. I think really if Rashad Penny stays healthy, it's his job to lose, and when he's healthy, he performs. So you're really going to have to hope that Tyler Algier breaks out and is productive. So maybe trade some of that wide receiver depth for some running back when it gets closer to finding a guy you like.
I'm probably moving Cooks.
Yeah, if you can, for sure.
Yeah.
DJ Moore, Juju, CD, or Lazard. So I think we could easily just chalk this up. Juju or Lazard. Who are you leaving out?
Probably Juju, and I say that as a Chiefs fan, because I think Lazard, when he's healthy and he's on the field, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has already pretty much told us in the offseason that Lazard is probably going to be the wide receiver one. I don't know that that's going to be the case for Juju. I mean, Sky Moore I was low on Sky Moore coming in because I was like, he doesn't do a whole lot of stuff really great. Like, he does some things fine, but I wasn't like a huge fan. But he's growing on me because I've seen the way they're using him. They're
You
lining
changed
up
that
in the
number yet?
backfield. No, he hasn't.
24. What is that? That
I
has got
know,
to
man.
change.
That's probably that might have been my problem was just the optics.
Yeah, I
Watching
don't
him
like
play,
that.
like watching his films, like I don't like this guy.
24.
Yeah, but he might be wide receiver one there, and I like the way they're lining him up in the backfield and using him all over the field. I kind of wouldn't be surprised to see him, go into like a little bit of a Debo role without, of course, being Debo. But Juju, I don't know. You might be wide receiver two there. I don't know if I like it. I'd probably
Yeah.
say Juju's the odd man out.
I would. I think it's very, very close, like razor thin. But if Lazard's playing, I'm probably putting him out there. Your decision might be made for you, especially if this is like a start-sit question for a week one. But I'm probably starting more. I'm definitely more in CD. Like those are smashes for me, and then I'm gonna stick Lazard in there if he's healthy, and Juju if he's not.
You got to get rid of one of those guys too, because if you keep both of those guys on the field, like you're just going to frustrate or on your rosters. You're just going to frustrate yourself trying to figure out which one to play. One of them's going to have a big week, the other one's not, and you're just going to be. That's what it's going to be all season. You're never going to get the right play.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I agree. Any changes you two recommend? Juanito, if you could tell us, is this a redraft league, like, or is it like a dynasty league? But I'm assuming it's going to be. I'm assuming it's probably a redraft, being one quarterback, two and 2-2-1, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. I would keep your starting lineup the way it is, probably, for sure.
Is that Hunter? That's
More,
the tight end for Miami, or who's this? Hunter T. Hunter.
yeah. Who is that?
I don't know.
Who's T Hunter?
So I feel like it's isn't there a tight end? Who am I thinking of? Not Hunter Henry.
Oh, Hunter Henry.
No,
New
no,
England. Oh, he
no.
just said New England.
New England. Oh, okay.
So maybe he
Okay, so
meant
he's talking
Hunter
about
Henry.
Hunter Henry. Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe he's talking about
We're
tight
good.
end Hunter. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I probably put in Hunter Henry over Gesicki. Yeah, I probably.
Yeah, I mean he's on your love list, so you have to.
Yeah, and honestly, Tua doesn't really target like the tight. Like Tua didn't really utilize Mike Gesicki very much. So yeah, I would probably put in keep if that's Hunter Henry, I'd put in Hunter Henry if you said New England. So
Lineup looks good to me though.
Yeah.
If you have a flex position and Lazard's out there, you could probably flex him instead of
yeah, for
who you
sure.
got, but
yeah, because that's what he was even asking us. We leave one of them out, so maybe that's what the flex option was Juju or Lazard. I bet that's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like Tyler Algier, Zamir White, and Rashad White all have equal ceilings. You think Tyler out here will do better because of his higher floor? Thoughts?
Tyler Algier will be better, I think is what he means. Because
Yeah,
of his higher
yeah.
floor. I don't know, man. Like Rashad White, if anything happens to Fournette, like he's gonna blow up. I feel like Tyler Algier, though, like I mentioned earlier, he's got great contact balance. He's a really talented player. Probably one of the more unrealized talents in the running back class of 2022. I'm a big fan. I think he should get the opportunity. I think that, Cordarrelle Patterson being able to line up in the backfield or at receiver, gives the Falcons options, especially for a depleted wide receiver core like they have. I mean, their only option outside of him really is Drake London. And then they have Brian Edwards, I believe, who he's never materialized. So I could see them flexing Cordarrelle out more and trying to find creative ways to still get him the ball without just lining him up in the backfield and making Tyler Algier that guy that's just, the guy that lines up predominantly in the backfield for them this year. So I think that I like Algier the most. I think right now he has the higher floor. I don't know that would be the case all season if, something happens to Fournette or, something happens to Zamir White. He's with the Raiders, right?
He is, yes.
Yeah. So he actually looked really good in the offseason, in the preseason games and things like that. Now that's not going against first unit, but he did look good on his opportunities. And if anything happens to Jacobs, again, if your starting running back gets hurt, these guys, they're being elevated quite far. Where Tyler Algier, I don't know that it makes a difference. If Cordarrelle Patterson gets injured, I don't know that it does anything for Algier. Maybe a little slight boost, but for now he has the highest ceiling. But I could see that changing.
Yeah, Tyler Algier for this year for sure has like the higher floor and ceiling for all these guys because he has the easiest path to be on the field the most and get the most touches for me. Long term, like next year, the answer for me is probably Zamir White. Like I think that Josh Jacobs is gone next year. Josh McDaniels is there. He comes from New England, who doesn't pay running backs, and I feel like if Josh ever wanted to get one paid, it would have happened. So I think Zamir White will be. There's a very, very high possibility that Zamir White is the starting running back for the Raiders next year, and I think that he is the better talent of all of these guys. So right now, the answer is Tyler Algier. But with that being said, like he's got more value because he's going to have more production this season. So if you can if you're not trying to win or you want to start rebuilding, I would be trying to maybe wait a couple weeks where Tyler Algier takes over and starts being a starting running back. Maybe try and package him for Zamir White and some more stuff because I think you're going to see a way better return next year with Zamir White. So I'm not too sold on Rashad White. I thought that Keyshawn Vaughn has actually looked very good this preseason as well, and when he gets on the field, he's shown the ability to produce pretty well. But in all reality, it's what running back knows the offense and which one can sit back there and block if you're going to be next to Tom Brady. And a lot of times rookie running backs don't come to fruition with Tom Brady because I just think they don't understand the maybe the complexity of the offense that he is always in. So it was always like that with New England. No rookie running back ever started. It always took him a year to learn and for Brady to be comfortable to have him next to him. So,
Right.
And that is all the questions that we have. Thank you guys so much for being in the chat and asking questions. In the past, it's been kind of sometimes brutal near the end of the shows to not have any questions or talk to anybody. So thank you guys so much. Juanito, Mike, Jaws, Alex, obviously Leone, Mark. Thank you guys all for getting in here. And thank you, Austin, for joining me today. I'm sure we'll have
pleasure.
you on again another time.
Cool.
And we are over our time plenty. So thank you guys, and we will see you next week.